All right, hello everyone. We are now at the fifth and final battle that I've chosen to feature for this draft league season. Well, I may do some more later, but as of me recording this video, our finals is just 2 days away. So we'll already know. So the season will be over on Wednesday, and doing more battle redux videos like this feels a little awkward doing after the season is over. If some of the other players ask me to review some battles, I will. So if any of y'all are listening, let me know, and I can do some more reviews. But I think this is it at the moment. At least this is it for my plan for now. I'm breaking the pattern a little bit. Instead of following through with the new person from last battle, I've decided to backtrack a little bit. You're looking at one of the opponents from the very first battle I reviewed, Paeldroth here. If you'll recall from that very first battle from this season, Paeldroth has a mostly rain team, but also has the potential for a hail team. With a lowland Ninetales and I think was it Arctozolt or Arctofish? One of the two. Actually, why am I guessing? I believe they use that second battle here. Arctozolt, there we go. And as their opponent on this battle, we have Palmer Pink. I think they've named their team. Most of the people in the league have named their teams, and I don't remember a lot of the names. I do know that Palmer Pink is named the Threatening Auras because Lucario is one of my favorites. So you see Palmer Pink with their mascot, Lucario, there leading off. Darmanitan, Seismitoad, Tyranitar, Galarian Weezing, and Rotom-Mow. And their other Pokemon, let me go back over to our spreadsheet here. The other four Pokemon that they drafted were, if I can get the tab, Where'd you go? I'm being blind right now. Where are you? Oh, there we are. Okay, yes, here are the Threatening Auras. So their other Pokemon are Skarmory, Starmie, Frostlass, and Hydreigon. I've used Hydreigon a couple of times in some of the previous seasons. Skarmory is always a useful Pokemon, as is Starmie. But those three are all, again, in our top tier. So Palmer Pink has opted to not bring them this time around. Their only top tier Pokemon they have is Tyranitar. At least the only ranked as top tier Pokemon is Tyranitar. The nice thing about draft formats is other Pokemon get to shine. And I think draft formats do that naturally. As I said earlier, they actually have a penalty for use of these top tier ones, which makes the math interesting, makes the battles all right. I think draft you should be able to use whatever Pokemon you want, but that's just my personal opinion. Anyway, so with that in mind, let's talk about team builds. Now, as I mentioned before, Paeldroth has a rain team and a kind of hail adjacent team. In fact, I think the two teams that Paeldroth has brought here are the exact same two teams that they used in the first battle we looked at. So Paeldroth just has these two teams constructed. Doesn't, at least up front, look like they're doing a ton of team building per opponent. Of course, I'm only looking at two of their battles. I haven't looked at some of the other ones yet, so apologies, Paeldroth, if you've been a little bit more proactive in team building. But it's nice to have these two cores to build off of. So that's always worthwhile as well. I know when I've done some of my battles, I would have, a couple of blueprints that I would use sometimes, and then just tweak them from there as needed. Palmer Pink, on the other hand, so we know that Paeldroth is bringing a rain team and potentially a hail team. So immediately what I'm seeing, that Seismitoad does get Swift Swim, so that's an opportunity for Palmer Pink to take advantage of Paeldroth's rain team. Tyranitar also has the ability to get Sandstream, so that can swap weather out. Now, Palmer Pink's team doesn't very much take advantage of sand. Lucario is immune to it. Skarmory is immune to it. But otherwise, everyone else is going to be taking damage. So if Tyranitar is using Stand Stream, it's only to disrupt Paeldroth's weather, and not necessarily to have a huge advantage of it on its own. And actually, I forgot to mention Seismitoad, Part Ground, also immune, but doesn't get an advantage from it. Let's see what else they've brought. So they've brought Darmanitan here, which works out pretty well. It obviously threatens Doublade. And Darmanitan has a bunch of great coverage moves. So, if it's you bringing Superpower, it's going to be threatening Obstagoon, threatening Armaldo. Earthquake, I know it can get... Earthquake doesn't really help a ton against Paeldroth team except for Arctozolt, if I recall correctly. And of course Doublade, but you'd probably want to use Fire if you got Darmanitan versus Doublade. And then of course it's got U-Turn. U-Turn is great against Obstagoon, and it'll do a good chunk on Ludicolo as well, Ludicolo. And also, now that I think about it, just that strong physical presence of Darmanitan is probably going to be good against Goodra as well, at least to do some noticeable chip damage, more so than it might otherwise. Palmer Pink's going to have to be careful with Tyranitar, because again, if you've got water and some grass and some steel coming in, Tyranitar is not going to be super happy. Let's see. We've got Galarian Wheezing here, and this one surprises me a little bit. It's got some... Poison will threat Ludicolo. Fairy will threaten Obstagoon. Well, actually, and Goodra and Garchomp. And the poison threatens Ninetales Alola. So actually, that actually makes pretty good sense. Also, being physically defensive, it's not going to worry too much about Armaldo. It will worry a little bit about Doublade, because it doesn't want to get hit by Steel types. It also probably won't worry about Arctozolt very much, especially if it's faster. But if Arctozolt is out, it's probably Hail, so Weezing would not be faster in that case. And lastly, we've got Rotom-Mow here. And that's obviously great to deal with all of the water that Paeldroth can bring. Especially, now Paeldroth did not bring Mantine here. It actually wasn't there, that's why I forgot. Paeldroth has Mantine, so this is not the original team that they brought. Extra apologies, Paeldroth. You did some more team building tweaking here. Good work. Because, Mantine certainly would not be happy facing Rotom-Mow or Tyranitar. And let me see, what were some of the others that Palmer Pink had? It's not too worried about Skarmory or Hydreigon, though. But Mantine does not want to see Tyranitar or Rotom-Mow. So good choice there. Alright, I think that's about it for team builds. I guess I haven't talked about Palmer Pink's Lucario. Lucario is just a very strong hitter. Normally you'll see it run a Swords Dance set. It can also do a Choice Band set. Lucario also can surprise people with special sets. That's not very common, but in a draft league like this, it's an option that people need to think about, because it can cause some surprises. But I'm betting Palmer Pink. Well, you know what? Now looking at Palmer Pink's team, so Darmanitan and Tyranitar are obviously physical. Weezing and Rotom-Mow are obviously special. Both Lucario and Seismitoad can run either physical or special sets. So again, I know I was talking about Ludicolo and Kingdra last time for Paeldroth. Now Kingdra's another one that's been swapped out. Geez, my memory is just all over the place. Also, options for running both physical or special sets depending on what your opponent is bringing. So it'll be interesting to me to see how those have played out. Particularly Palmer Pink's got 2 of those question marks. Paeldroth's got 1. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. Let's watch this first rain battle. Politoed setting the rain, and Seismitoad instantly there to take advantage of it. Gets the Stealth Rocks up without much of a problem. Knockoff! Oh, that's a good chunk of damage. And Sandscream instantly gets rid of the... Ooh! Instantly gets rid of the rain and weather... I'm surprised he wanted to use Weather Ball against Seismitoad. Okay. Oh, geez. All right. And Rotom-Mow is down. Tyranitar is down. That Armada's cutting things up. But goes down quickly on its own. Again, Palmer Pink trying to get the sand up as often as it did with Politoed still available. Maybe not the best swaps to have done. Weezing gets Thunderbolt. All right. Interesting. And Paralysis hitting that Doublade hard. And now Seismitoad is getting advanced of the weather. Oh, I'm surprised it didn't stay in there. And it does look like it's a special Lucario. Awesome. That's fun. Let's see. Vacuum Wave. Attacked. And I wonder... Okay, just keep seeing Vacuum Wave. I wonder if it's a Specs Lucario, because that's interesting. I would have maybe expected... So it's a special Lucario. What would I think a special Lucario runs? It would almost want to have a Nasty Plot, and so then maybe some, like, a Healing Berry would have been a good idea. Specs Lucario, though. I mean, it's a good choice. Ooh, that did a good chunk. It's a good choice in a battle where you might have not had Specs on any of your other Pokemon. Weezing cutting through some stuff here. Knockoff not going to do a ton. Oh, but it loses Black Sludge. That's unfortunate. But at this point, it's a 3v1. Yeah, this is... Oh, that did a good chunk still. And there's the end. There we go. All right. Let's see here. We got a little bit of anger there. I might have missed... Oh, they played on... That's right. This match was played, again, like 2.5 weeks ago on April Fool's Day. So let's now reset and go through normal speed and pull apart each turn. So initially we got... Now, this is a very good prediction on Palmer Pink's part. Because Paeldroth running a rain team is probably going to send out Politoed first. So sending out Seismitoad as an immediate answer to take advantage of the rain, pretty good choice. Another good way of taking advantage of that potentially would have been to send out your Rotom-Mow first, and then you could have just used a Volt Switch. So actually, that might have even been the better starting prediction. But now you've already got Seismitoad up front. And the nice thing with Seismitoad that Rotom-Mow doesn't do, you get your rocks set up. So good choices there. And here's the interesting thing. Now Seismitoad is one Pokemon that gets 4 move slot syndrome. If I were a Paeldroth, I absolutely would not have put Ludicolo out, because I would be worried about a Sludge Wave coming in. Because Seismitoad's not going to use Scald or a Water-type move on Politoed. So it could have used Earthquake, and that might have been what Paeldroth was expecting. But Knockoff and Sludge Wave are also great ideas. Let's see. So now we've got this set up. Seismitoad does not want to get hit with the Giga Drain. I think... What is... I guess I think if I were me, I would have maybe swapped to Galarian Weezing here, or maybe Rotom-Mow. Because, I mean, you surely don't want to switch Tyranitar in. Lucario and Darmanitan aren't going to worry too much about a Giga Drain, but if this Ludicolo is Specs or Life Orb... Well, actually, it doesn't matter. We just saw I got knocked off. Never mind. Never mind. But neither of them are super sturdy Pokemon, so you don't want those getting chip damage. So I would have. So it's either Weezing or Rotom-Mow. And here is the point where an interesting thing happened. If Ludicolo was expecting Weezing or Rotom-Mow, Weezing I can absolutely see a Weather Ball coming in. Really strong Water type special attack would have wrecked Weezing Galar. Weather Ball wouldn't have done as much to Rotom-Mow, but Palmer Pink, that's surprising to me, because again, I was expecting Giga Drain or Weather Ball, also a relatively okay choice. Honestly, I wouldn't have thought of Weather Ball. I would have thought of Scald coming in, or maybe a Hydro Pump as a secondary move. Now, I can see why Ludicolo is running Weather Ball, especially that gives it some versatility in case Ludicolo is put on the Hail team as well. But in this particular situation, it's certainly come back to bite Paeldroth, because now that Tyranitar took very little damage when a Scald or a Hydro Pump or Giga Drain would have done a lot. And it swaps out, which is a little bit surprising, because you could have pulled off another move. 262 speed. If Ludicolo was fully speed invested, it would have guaranteed to outspeed Tyranitar, and you could have done something else. Now, Paeldroth might have the same issue that Terran did last time, where they didn't put the speed investment in because they were depending on weather. Have to play in to see how the rest of it goes. Drizzle comes out. Rock Slide does okay, but you don't want to get... Okay, interesting. That's right. So if I was Palmer Pink there, I don't want to get scalded. So the switch to Rotom-Mow works great. Paeldroth, I'm not sure if he was predicting Rotom-Mow, but as we're seeing in a moment, Armaldo has Brick Break, which does a huge amount to Tyranitar. Now, it is a little bit interesting because you just saw Tyranitar use Rock Slide, and Armaldo would not like getting hit by Rock Slide. Probably wouldn't have killed, but it would have made it hurt. But Swift Swim with both X Scissor and Brick Break, that does, that takes care of Tyranitar, takes care of Rotom. Brick Break would do a good chunk on Lucario. And if there's a Rock-type move on Armaldo, that would take care of Darmanitan as well. So, good swap on Paeldroth's part here. And yeah, I'm a little surprised Rotom stayed in, because Armaldo is a strong physical attacker, Rotom's a bit frail, it's Bug versus Grass. And yeah, even though Rotom is normally faster, Armaldo has to be running Swift Swim here, so I would have maybe swapped to Weezing Galar, because I don't think Armaldo gets much that will hit Weezing Galar super effectively, or even neutrally. I think Rock might hit neutral. And I guess Water probably would hit neutral as well. And here's what I mentioned earlier, setting up Sand when you know Politoed is still out there, not the best move. And then, of course, we get Brick Break coming in and just wrecking Tyranitar. Even X Scissor probably would have done a good chunk, because I don't think Rock resists Bug. Let me check that. Rock does not resist Bug, so X Scissor would have done a good chunk of damage. Again, maybe not to kill in the same way that Rock Slide might not have killed Armaldo, but I would have probably put Weezing Galar in and not worried about the Swift Swim for another turn or two. Or, if we're talking about Swift Swim, get your Seismitoad back out. Now, again, I don't know what its other attacks are. If it's not carrying its own Scald, or Earthquake would hit neutrally, so it wouldn't do as much to Armaldo as you would like, but Scald would have done a nice amount. Tyranitar was not the best swap there to do. But Darmanitan comes in, gets the kill. And the Rain comes back out, and now Palmer Pink can't do much with it. That was an unlucky miss. Paeldroth likes that there. But yeah, that was rough. And now it's really interesting. Like, I would not have expected Weezing to know Thunderbolt in the first place, but it was a good swap nonetheless. Paeldroth here, I'm sure, is probably just preserving their Politoed as their Rain setter. And unfortunately, the Paralysis hits. Yep, Palmer Pink would have killed if it wasn't for the miss. Lucario comes out. Double paralyzed. I'm surprised. I think he was maybe had to have been anticipating a swap, because you don't use an Aura Sphere against a Ghost type. Now, if he was anticipating a swap, was Aura Sphere the best move to use? We know it's a special attacking Lucario. I'm guessing it's choice specs because of what we saw later in the match. So Aura Sphere certainly does a good chunk against. It hits the others for neutral, although Gudra probably tanks it pretty well because it's especially defensive. And of course, it would kill Obstagoon. If it had Flash Cannon, the water types would resist it. And again, Gudra doesn't care too much about special type attacks. But I'm sure Paeldroth probably wasn't even thinking of switching Gudra in because he's probably anticipating Lucario being physical as opposed to the special that were now revealed. Alright, so here comes Seismitoad finally, Shadow Sneak. And Palmer Pink remembers type matchups. Yep. Earthquake gets the kill in. Even if he wasn't. So, yeah. Unlucky with the RNG giving 3 paralysis in 4 turns. Shadow Sneak wasn't doing much with Seismitoad, so I'm not sure that one mattered so much. Definitely annoying, though. Interesting swap there. Again, I'm not sure exactly what Palmer Pig was predicting. He might have not wanted a knockoff to come in, and if Lucario was justified, the knockoff would actually help even more. Well, actually, no, because Justified raises attack, doesn't it? So it wouldn't help a lot. Let me double check what Justified does. I think it's just attack, not special attack. So, yeah, not a great swap in there. I would have kept Seismitoad in. Yeah, I probably would have kept Seismitoad in and done some other attacks with it. Now, of course, Obstagoon has Obstruct, which, if I recall correctly, actually, I don't recall correctly. That's the problem. I know I got this wrong the first time we looked. Let me go back to Obstagoon and see what Obstruct does. Obstruct has defense lowered by 2. Okay. That's just such an awkward move. But so, yeah. Again, if this is, I wouldn't have used knockoff into Obstagoon, obviously. Although, if this Obstagoon had, one of the orbs, knockoff would have been nice. But Obstruct protects it. Earthquake and Scald, both relatively good options for Obstagoon. I don't think Lucario was the smartest switch in, but we do know that now we have a fighting type threatening 4 times super effective. Paeldroth not liking the paralysis earlier. Vacuum Wave. I'm surprised Vacuum Wave and not Aura Sphere. 317. Okay, I mean, Lucario is a little bit slower than Obstagoon, so that makes some sense there. And doesn't get the kill. I'm not sure where Paeldroth decided to protect there, because PP stalling on Vacuum Wave doesn't do much at all. Gonna win because of those 3 paralyzed triggers. Where were they? Thunderbolt. So I don't know what Paeldroth was going to do. He might have been trying to do an Iron Head against Weezing or something to that effect, which wouldn't have done a lot to Lucario. Now, I might have tried to use Close Combat and then taken out Lucario, and that could have been that Close Combat or Secret Sword, and that would have been absolutely devastating to Palmer Pink. So yeah, that there I think is true. That paralyzed trigger probably mattered a lot more than the other 2 did. Weezing gets burned. Weezing doesn't care about a burn too much. Again, it's not physically attacking. It's relatively tanky. Strange Stream does quite a lot. So Gudra is known for being specially defensive, and Weezing isn't the best attacker, but if your Weezing is specially attack invested and Gudra is not specially defense invested, I can potentially see how that happened there. I'm betting this Gudra is fully defensively invested, though, because then we've got the physical defense coming up with Acid Armor. Excuse me. Rest works very well in rain. But you're still getting a massive chunk of damage from Strange Stream. And that gets the kill. So that's a relatively offensively invested Weezing, which is interesting to see. Because Weezing's both versions are usually known more for their defenses. But yeah, now this Weezing gets to do a lot of cleanup work. Now Goodra's faster. Oh, it doesn't matter though. Because the rocks came in, did some of the chip damage for Strange Stream to get the kill. And honestly, let me think about it here. So those 3 paralyzed triggers was... Oh yeah, because Lucario came out and did a lot of Vacuum Wave work after that. Vacuum Wave isn't the strongest move though. So again, I'm not... Even though it would have absolutely killed Lucario if a close combat or Secret Sword or Sacred Sword came in, not sure if that would have changed the full course of the battle. But it definitely was very nicely back and forth. I think that's about all I can think of for that one. So let's go look at the next one. So again, Palmer Pink keeps the exact same team. Paeldroth comes in with an ice team in this case. And this one definitely is modified from last time because I remember that Ninetales was in without Arc Result, and now Arc Result is in. So Paeldroth is absolutely hoping here to get some Bolt Beaks or some Icicle Crashes, or maybe even a Low Kick. Low Kick will absolutely kill Tyranitar if it gets off and probably do a good chunk to Lucario. So that's an interesting swap here, and now Seismitoad cannot take advantage of the rain. Neither can Goodra, though. So we'll see how this battle goes. Let's watch it quickly and then pull it apart. Oh, noise. Sorry about that. Garchomp versus Weezing. Instantly worried about the Strange Stream, I guess. And Pommel Pink anticipates the swap, gets some Toxic Spikes out. Actually, maybe would have used Toxic Spikes again, right? Calm Mind Ninetales. That's interesting. Although it makes sense. You're trying to protect against Sludge Wave coming in. Ninetales is normally not somewhat frail, so getting that boost is good. And now Weezing is out. The big threat from last game is out. Flash Cannon does get the kill, though. There's that 4 times super effective coming into play. Alright, now let's see what this Doublade can do. Or not. Because, yeah, Flare Witch is coming in. Holy mackerel! That is a... Yep, Darmanitan is very physically strong, and I shouldn't pause during these first watches, but that did more than half against the Dragon. So that's impressive. Alright, we've got the Sand out. Protect, Crunch, yep. So that Tyranitar, not Dragon Dance, although that would have been great to use against anticipating the Protect. Icicle Crash. Oh, and you know what? That actually makes me curious. Arc Result. Yeah, Slush Rush. Wait, what is one of the other fossils gets Sand Rush? Dracozolt gets Sand Rush. That's the other one. Dracozolt gets Sand Rush. So that could have been an opportunity to take advantage of that. But Paeldroth's Hail is out, so Slush Rush isn't going to help much. And now the Poison's going to do a bunch of its damage. Ooh, but Gooey slows Tyranitar down. Surf comes... Oh, nice. Palmer Pink must be... That must be a... Assault Vest T-Tar. Stomping Tantum gets the kill, though. And Lucario is down. Sandstream is up. Oh, that might be a Choice Scarf Arc Result. Must be, yes. And then we got an Earthquake to get that out of the way. Obstagoon comes in. Ooh, yeah, I would have gone with Earthquake again. Because that's going to hurt. And I'm surprised, like... Yeah, Rotom... I'm not sure why Palmer Pink is trying to save Rotom, though, for last. Because that's... Ooh! And that's now in Shadow Sneak range. If that crit didn't happen, that might have actually changed the outcome there. Wow. Interesting. Very interesting stuff. All right, let's reset and go through it turn by turn. Excuse me, need a drink of water there. So we've got the Hail team here. Might anticipate Ninetales coming out first. So if I was Palmer Pink, I might have actually led with Lucario. As for what Paeldroth thinks, maybe one is switched up. I'm not sure what Palmer Pink would have led with. Maybe Seismitoad or Tyranitar for rocks. And if that Ninetales knows Freeze Dry, that would have been great for Seismitoad. Moonblast works on T-Tar, so I think a Ninetales lead works out pretty well for Paeldroth here. But let's forget what they actually did. Led with Garchomp, and here's kind of what we're seeing. I mentioned this in our previous video with Komao being a lead-off. Probably has the Stealth Rock set here and more defensively, but does not want to get Strange Streamed. And there Palmer Pink got a good prediction there. If he knew the swap was coming, getting the Toxic Spikes, great move alternatively. Because what would have Paeldroth swapped to? Paeldroth would have probably swapped, again, either to Ninetales or Doublade. And Strange Stream certainly wouldn't... Strange Stream or Sludge Bomb would not have worked against Doublade. So, Strange Stream could have been an option, but good thought to get the Toxic Spikes out and start doing some chip damage. I honestly would have done another layer of spikes. That'll shorten the lifespan of all of these other Pokemon even more so than the poison itself does. Sludge Wave gets a good chunk, and here's the thing: since Ninetales is already out, there's the opportunity to poison it with Sludge Wave. So okay to be keeping doing that, but I maybe again would have put another layer of Toxic Spikes down. Now the fact that this Ninetales Calm Mind and Pain Split, that's a really unique set. So Aurora Veil, Calm Mind, Pain Split, Blizzard. I'm surprised a little bit that it's not running Moonblast or Freeze Dry. Nasty Plot's usually what you see on Ninetales, but actually this set solves one of Ninetales' problems, because Aurora Veil is great, but as I mentioned earlier, Ninetales is kind of fragile, so actually sacrificing the extra attack boost to give you some special defense boost, good way to make your Ninetales live longer if that's what you think you can get away with based on what your opponent's showing. Now again, if I was running this set, I might run it as a leftover set instead of I'm assuming a light play set, if you're really wanting to have that longevity in play. But it works out relatively well, because you get the Wheezing taken out, and that's that Strange Stream, huge threat for Paeldroth, is now gone. Unfortunately, there's your 4x super effective that blasts through even the Aurora Veil and the boost, because, again, we thought last match that Lucario was Choice Spect. So that's just going to come through hard. And, yeah. So actually, let me go back a turn here. So we get the Flash Cannon coming in, and it's up to Paeldroth to pick what he goes next. And with Flash Cannon coming in, the Doublade is a great pick. High defensive stuff, and can in theory threaten Lucario. Now, considering the other threats that Palmer Pink has, I would have not opted for setup here and just tried to do some damage right off the bat. Because now what happens, Darmanitan comes in to threaten Doublade, and Paeldroth has lost a turn. Doesn't end up mattering in the long run, though, because we saw Paeldroth end up winning this match, but Flare Blitz going over half to a Garchomp, which I have to assume is at least somewhat defensively invested. Because we saw it lead off with the intent to use rocks, and now we just saw it use rocks there. Another swap, double swaps here, which is very interesting. So Garchomp can be faster than Darmanitan, but again, if we see it's being more support role, makes sense to swap it out, because it's not going to take him their Flare Blitz. Darmanitan not swapping out is kind of surprising, because you could have just pushed another Flare Blitz flare blitz through, and it would have done a good chunk. And because you saw that, oh, hang on, that's next turn. So whoops, okay, I'm talking out of my ass apparently. So Seismitoad versus Garchomp. Again, I'm not exactly sure what Paeldroth was trying to predict, because we already know that the Seismitoad knows Knockoff. And it probably knows Earthquake, and probably knows Scald. You might be anticipating the Stealth Rock coming in, but all three of those attacks would do a good chunk on Doublade. So I think that was the swap that happened. So there's the other one that I'm not sure of. So you're seeing Garchomp versus Seismitoad. I'm not sure why the swap to Tyranitar happened. So what I'm trying to put my head in Palmer Pink's mind. If you're threatening Garchomp and you're anticipating the swap, you have to guess what Paeldroth is swapping into. You're almost certainly not expecting Doublade. But if Seismitoad is using Knockoff, maybe you're expecting Obstagoon to come in. If Seismitoad is using Scald, you might be expecting Goodra to come in. If it's using Earthquake, well, nothing's going to be happy about that. So you might have been expecting Goodra or Obstagoon, and I'm not really seeing how Tyranitar helps that much. If it was Goodra or Obstagoon, I would have sent Darmanitan back in, or Lucario. Now again, Garchomp was showing, so sending in either of those maybe wouldn't make sense. This probably would have been a good option to bring in Mow, and then just toy around and see what happens. But now you've got Doublade versus Tyranitar, and I think Palm Pink instantly swaps Tyranitar right back out. No, it doesn't. Protect versus Crunch. Interesting. Interesting, because Iron Head would do a chunk on Tyranitar, especially like a Secret Sword or Close Combat would. Again, I would have swapped. But now you've done a little bit of scouting, and there's a Sacrificial T-Tar there that some Rough Skin gets some chip damage. Again, I could have maybe sent an Obstagoon. Obstagoon normally knows Close Combat. We're not sure what's running here. But now we've got a Choice Scarf, Arctozolt, and a double miss turn. But now Palmer Pink knows Arctozolt is faster. And I'm not sure if that's natural or because Tyranitar is slow, or if that's actually the Choice Scarf. I think we said it probably has the Choice Scarf on. Yeah, because it just swaps out immediately. Rock Slide comes in. Good swap on Paeldroth's part, anticipating the Rock Slide. Now probably anticipating a Crunch, which again, I would have probably sent an Obstagoon instead, because Crunch does a massive chunk on Goodra, while Obstagoon would resist it. You get to slow down T-Tar, but now you've lost your Goodra. Now, Tyranitar is also now super slow. And you don't want that in. And Paeldroth predicts perfectly there. You know Tyranitar is coming out. You're guessing that it's, maybe, Icicle Crash again, or maybe Bolt Beak. If you're guessing for Bolt Beak, either Seismitoad or Rotom-Mow is good. If you're guessing Icicle Crash, definitely not Rotom-Mow, and Seismitoad or maybe Darmanitan and Lucario are okay. But again, Lucario and Darmanitan, somewhat frail Pokemon, not the best defensively, so I wouldn't necessarily send them in unless it was a free swap. So if you were getting Tyranitar out of there, I would have probably sent in Seismitoad. But now it's interesting in that sense that Abomination was using Stomping Tantrum here, because even if you were predicting Seismitoad or Rotom-Mow, Stomping Tantrum wouldn't hit Rotom-Mow at all and probably wouldn't do a ton to Seismitoad. He was banking on either T-Tar staying in or getting one of these more frail things out, and got the advantage of getting one of those frail things out. Again, I said, we think with Scarfed, Stomping Tantrum brings out the Tyranitar. And so now, Palm Pink finally brings out Seismitoad. Stomping Tantrum doesn't do much. This is mostly just a sack, because I'm sure Paeldroth thinks he can handle Seismitoad at this point. And here, Obstagoon. I said pause. Again, this is a point I would have used Earthquake instead of Knockoff. We saw Obstruct last game. That's the main thing. We saw Obstruct last game. Knockoff would have been better. Or if you had Scald, I don't think we've ever seen the Seismitoad use anything other than Knockoff, Earthquake, or Stealth Rock. So I don't know what his fourth move is. Scald would have been a great option. Earthquake again, also good because it doesn't make contact with Obstruct. But now you've got this Guts thing tearing through. And again, there's a swap into a more frail thing. With Darmanitan, would have been great against Doublade. At that point, I would have sacked Seismitoad to get the free swap into Darmanitan or Rotom-Mow. Use Rotom-Mow to get Chipmate damage and then send in Darmanitan last. Because it still had a relatively good chunk of health. And use Darmanitan to clean up on Obstagoon and Doublade. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. You get the swap out again. A frail thing gets killed in on the swap. And now you're just forcing Seismitoad back into the rocks again, taking more chip damage. Facade comes in for the kill. And then I think Rotom-Mow was faster here. No, it's not. Knockoff comes in, doesn't get the kill. But the crit does a huge chunk of damage. So that Shadow Sneak gets the final thing. I think Paeldroth still probably would have won even without that crit. Because with Eviolite, I'm not sure exactly how much damage the Thunderbolt would do. And if Rotom-Mow hadn't been crit and had come out with more, I'm sure Doublade would have maybe started setting up a Swords Dance or just came in with whatever other move it had to get more damage in. Now, Rotom-Mow might have had Will-O-Wisp, but that would have taken a couple of turns to, that would have spent a turn before getting Thunderbolt in, and Rotom-Mow probably didn't have more than 2 turns, if just one. So yeah, definitely interesting battle. The questionable swap-ins for Lucario and Darmanitan, both of them just eating it to Arctozolt and Obstagoon respectively. I think that was where this battle was won. So, good play on Paeldroth, taking advantage of some of Palmer Pink's questionable swaps there. Another split decision between the two battles. Great set of matches here. And yeah, this was the 5th of my reviews for this season. If anyone from the league wants me to comment on some of your other battles, I will. Otherwise, I will see you all next season. All right, bye.